All right, welcome back to the New Little Life channel. We have another interview with one of our clients today, which I'm really excited about. This one will be kind of fun because she's not actually at the end of her journey. She's kind of in the messy middle. She also has twins and is a busy nurse anesthetist. Hope I said that right. And this is going to be good because I think sometimes it's really fun to talk to people right when they're still in the thick of things. You know, we can always look back and sometimes, hindsight is 2020 and it looks not as bad as it was when we were looking back on it. But so today I want to talk to her right in the middle of her story, which is going to be great. If you're new here, my name is Allison Tolman. I'm the founder of New Little Life and the creator of the Pumping for Working Moms coaching program. This is where we help career-driven moms, usually high-achieving women who are committed to breastfeeding, transition back to work and sustain a realistic supply in a way that works well for them. Really finding that work-life balance and realizing that you're more than just the milk you make, right? It's all part of this big experience that we're doing. So as we're talking with Vanessa today, if that's some help that you want as well, you can fill out an application to work directly with me and my team. It's newlittlelife.com/apply. That'll be in the notes, description, wherever you're watching or listening to this. But let's go ahead and jump right into this interview with Vanessa. I'm really excited to talk with her this morning. Welcome, Vanessa. Thanks for making the time to do this with me.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
So I think the best place to start is kind of right at the beginning. You have twins. What was that like in the beginning for you feeding them? How did that get started off?
Yeah, so my story was, I'm a nurse anesthetist, so I have kind of the science background, and I nursed my first son, who's almost 3. So I was able to nurse him till about a year, a little past maybe. And so when my twins were coming, I didn't really put in that much time, but I was like, well, it's just supply and demand. I can do this. Then they were born at the end of September, and it's a little bit more complicated because they were a little tiny, they were a little bit premature, they were just a little weak. They didn't really have any problems with their latch, but they just weren't very strong. So I was nursing them, but I probably should have been pumping at the same time right from the beginning, but it was kind of not directly on my mind. And it was, I guess, some things I didn't know about that kind of world of having slightly premature babies, slightly weaker babies. So I kept feeding them, but then my daughter, Elodie, one of the twins, needed to be in the hospital. So then my twins were separated. So that kind of made even just trying to put them to the breast all the time a little bit more complicated in terms of getting my milk supply in properly for 2 babies. Plus they were a little bit tiny. So then I was back and forth through the hospital for 1 week, but 1 week right at the beginning, kind of basically the second week of their lives. So they were separated. I was back and forth. I probably had more stress, obviously, just being postpartum, going back and forth and just worrying about Ellie. So then my milk was okay, but I was supplementing. I was trying to pump, bring milk either to the hospital or sending it home for the other one, Vera. And so I was doing okay, but I definitely didn't have enough milk. And then you get to the weigh-ins at the doctors, and they both started out pretty small at 4'11" and 5'11". So the smaller one was already down to like 4'5" or something like that. So then it's supplement. And I had nothing against, supplementing with formula, but my goal was to breastfeed, at least majority, I thought, with the twins, and ideally exclusively if I could. So I was struggling and trying to take care of 2 babies, also my son, trying to pump, but I also wasn't a very proficient, effective pumper, I guess. I did it last time up to a year at work, but I was always nursing when I was home with my son. So I was doing it, but I probably wasn't doing it very well, so it made it even more challenging. And then it was starting to get to a point where I talked to a lot of other twin moms. I was also looking at, kind of stats online about breastfeeding and with mothers with twins, and the rate of success was pretty low. So I was a little bit sad, a little bit frustrated, and also kind of determined to try to find some kind of solution. So that's kind of how I was looking stuff online, and then I saw your videos, Allison. So I was following them, and it's like they give a lot of good information, but I was kind of craving more, and I felt like I needed a bit more than what was there. They were great tips. So then I went onto your website and I found some more information, and I kind of hem and hawed about it for probably I can't really remember because now that's almost 6 months ago, maybe 5 months ago. but probably for a good week or two. But then I was like, I need to like, and then I was watching some video about like, obviously the earlier the better to intervene. So I was like, oh man, I wish I did this weeks or even before the girls were even born. But I'm here now. So then I talked with my husband Chris, and we decided that I should at least do the intake, and it seemed like the right fit. So I went ahead and did it, and I was like, oh my gosh, am I going to be able to do all this, learning um, with the girls and everything? But you are up a lot, nursing or pumping. So that's kind of when I did all the education modules. And for someone like me, they worked really well. I feel like I was able to watch them. I actually am like an auditory learner. So whether I was like really watching the video, some videos it's better to like really watch the video as well, but you could be listening and taking in the information, or you could read it, I guess. But I liked the videos, and I got through it pretty quickly, or at least the first chunk. And I think
Yeah.
I don't remember how long it took me, but um, I think I was great on like how to pump efficiently. Flange size was a big thing for me. Once I fixed that, I think things were getting better, and kind of understanding how to tackle the supply and demand and feeding the girls, like all that. I could plan it better with how we went through the education modules, and then tweaking it to myself or asking some questions on the module. But the other part, I guess, I'm like thinking all back to it now, but like I guess it was good to know what I was doing was good. If I couldn't, going through the goals, and even if showing, I guess on the forum, the community, it was good to congratulate yourself on whatever progress you made, even if you didn't make it to your goal yet. So that was really positive, and it felt good to see other twin moms on there too. It made me feel like, oh well, they were, they just kind of had their goals taken care of too, because it's very different being a twin mom compared to a singleton. And I feel like I can say that because I have a singleton
Yeah.
child, twins, and it's just, it's very different. And it's just harder to connect to other things, but it felt good that there were other moms that had twins that were successful on there. So I feel like I'm a little bit rambling now, but um, the modules helped me find the confidence in knowing what to do. And then I had, I guess, the community to ask questions, and then the experts of like you and Andrea and other people to help me with the little specific things, or even just sometimes talking through what's going on in your mind, because my partner is very, very, very supportive, but he doesn't get it the way someone that's been through it or is an expert in it or who's really doing it, because he can't really understand the problem in the same way.
Yeah,
Um,
it's true. We hear that
yeah,
so much too. And it's funny you mentioned having so many twin moms, because I feel like we do have a lot of twin moms at the moment
yeah,
in the last year. But I think it's because it is a little harder. You need twice the milk and you have less room for error. You know what I mean? Like even if you're not doing things totally perfect with a singleton, if you're one of those people that makes a lot of milk, sometimes you can kind of like make it work. But then when you
right.
have two, you're like, I need every drop, and this has to be efficient and fast because I also have two babies, and you have
Yeah,
three that
two
you're
babies.
taking care
Yeah, and then you're going back to work, so you don't want to. You still
of.
want to be partially who you were before you had children. You'll always be different, but going and being, the type of employee or, teammate or anything, mentor, whoever you are at work to whoever, you want to be somewhat that same person as well. That's why you're returning to work, and it mattered to you and it felt good to be at work, but you also don't want to give up on feeding your babies in the way that you wanted to. So, I mean, I just returned to work 2 weeks ago, and I've had a couple little things and different questions, but I've been able to work through them with, I feel like, what I've seen, what I've learned, and what where I'm at now. But it also feels good to have the backup of knowing, oh, I can ask Allison or Andrea or the forum and see what they think about this. But all my little issues haven't been so bad yet, so I've kind of just been working through them so far. Like, well, if I pump a little less than what they eat during the day, is that okay? Well, it is okay because I have milk in the freezer. Or I'm also okay with using like maybe a couple ounces of formula per night if it's easier. and I'm trying to balance the whole work-life balance, or figuring out how everything falls into place. If I'm waking up at 5 a.m. to go to work, then I need to go to sleep. So maybe I can't do a longer pump in the evening, or my stress levels or sleep levels are down. So maybe I need to prioritize sleep over getting an extra 2 ounces of milk and get formula or take from my stash. So I feel like I'm able to problem solve within that and know that it's okay, because it's easy to work so hard to be successful at something. Because I was struggling. So they were born at end of September, all of October, basically kind of struggling, figuring it out. Then figuring it out, I think I started working with you in November.
Mhm.
And then by Thanksgiving, I was exclusively breast milk. So not all from the breast, but breast milk from me or the bottle. And then you work that long, and now I'm returning to work for the last couple of weeks, and I'm like, wait, is it okay to go back to formula? And I was like, yes, because that is okay for me. Or I can take from my stash because that's what it's there for. And then I was just telling my husband, I was like, well, if I use 4 to 8, extra ounces a week, that still gets me till there's 7 or 8 or 9 months, depending on how much we need. So I don't have to ruin my life in terms of staying up late to try to pump those extra few ounces to get to not use my stash. I was like, the stash is there for the stash so I can use it. And it was also you and Andrea that told me, you're like, you have your stash and you worked so hard, because I was contemplating taking out my morning pump, which I do once in a while and I skip most days now. But you're like, you worked so hard so that you could enjoy your time and like be, live your life the way you want to during the day. And I was like, true. Like it feels like you have to keep working so hard, but you don't always. So you can hold on and wait and enjoy all the work that you put in. And so I guess those have been some of the really positive things that have come from doing the program. Having that support, somebody telling you how to look at it differently, and also having the tools to know how to work through my little problems or challenges that come up through the pumping journey, returning back to work. Um, but yeah, so it's been, I mean, I don't regret it. I was talking to my husband about it this morning, and he was like, this really, this really just, got you to be successful. Or like, because I almost stopped nursing multiple times. I just wasn't ready, but I'm glad that I'm still breastfeeding. I think I would have been really sad to lose that, not on my own terms, feeling
Yeah.
like just because I didn't have the tools to do it, versus, so many women decide not to do it, and that's very different. Um, I think a lot of women do stop because they didn't have the tools or the support, which
Yeah.
we are getting a lot more from, this program and the community.
Mhm.
And I had a supportive family too, but even some of the most supportive people would say weird things like about the pumping or the bottles and the, I don't know, just things that people don't say any of that on the forum. So it's just really nice.
I know. There really is nothing like someone else that's going through the same thing you're going through. And even, me and my team of experts, we've done this before. We're experts here, but we're not currently doing it. So we have a lot of answers and support. We've worked with a lot of clients, so we can kind of help that way. But there is something really special about kind of being in a group setting with other moms who are doing it right now. And like you said, you can always find moms who are doing something similar who've got twins. We have a lot of healthcare providers, people
Yeah.
in like office, even the OR. We've got quite a few at the moment who do stuff like that. And there's just nothing like that kind of support. And almost everyone is like, yeah, I have a very supportive partner. Like I've got support here, but this is different. And so I like that you've touched on that. You also have done something, you've also been like a star client in the fact of balancing your life. So what you want versus, like what everyone says you should be doing, or like the perfect way. And I think you've done really, really well at finding that balance. I'm also amazed that you found so much success, I think within like a week or two after joining. You
I
like
mean,
got out of completely, right?
yeah, I feel like because I was getting close, but I wasn't there and I wasn't doing it quite right. And then
Mhm.
I think I started with pumping effectively, like flange size. And then it was
Mhm.
knowing like I was like counting, like, how many times am I actually expressing milk? And then having my weird little paper charts, because I tried to do it on the computer. It just wasn't working right for me because there's just,
Yeah.
it's just messy and like everything's everywhere at the beginning. But yeah, it was literally, I think, 2 weeks where I went from, should I still give up and, have a more balanced life altogether because this is just not working, to I'm exclusively giving my babies breast milk. And they're gaining weight. Like, they're tiny, but they were always on their growth curve. So there was, no question that they weren't getting enough, even though I questioned it still too, because that's just what you do. But they were always growing, staying on their growth curve. And I was after that, starting to make a bit of a stash. I think at the beginning, when I wasn't sure if they were going to take more breast milk, I would give them like an ounce or two at the end of the night of formula so that I wasn't dumping breast milk down the drain. But
Sure.
it was, I could make that plan that worked for me based on the knowledge that I acquired, because the way my brain works, it was like, well, now I know this is how it works, or I know my hormones are higher at this time, or I know the babies are going to eat this much for this long, and later it's going to go down. And so I'm already like kind of seeing where my path will go with how I can pump, or my stash can be gone in a few months, because I think I'll be able to maintain without a big stash anymore at that point. So it's like, you don't know the future, but the planning and the knowledge of what I've learned helped me kind of decrease my stress of today, knowing how things change later down the road. Um, and it's hard. Like, that's what's great about being human, is you can plan, but you really don't know what's going to be later. But you also don't want to stress out about the future too much today when you don't really know how it's going to pan out. So I just feel like it's helped me balance all that so much more and be happier. Like, I'm nursing my girls. It's taxing, but I enjoy it, and I like the connection. I like the feeling. I like what it feels like to be a mother, being able to do that. But I like that I'm also able to go to work. I'm able to say, well, sometimes, last night I had maybe like an ounce in the freezer up. We have a cabin up north, but I said, oh, I'm just going to give them I'm going to make 2 ounces of formula so that I'm not stressing during the day to try to get those 2 ounces by pumping 5 or 10 minutes here and there. And I wasn't as stressed out about my day. We have 3 kids running around us. We don't, like, is it worth that? I was like, the benefit of the breast milk is still there. We still have the connection of nursing, and I can mix 2 ounces of formula, and it's not a big deal. So I feel like, yeah, I've been able to really balance it, but I did work really hard at that beginning, because I was like, we need to do it now, because I was like, I'm already past this many weeks. Like, my hormones are changing. I don't want to get more behind. But I also felt like I was able to, took me a bit, but I was disappointed. I was like, oh, I wish I did this earlier. But I was like, I didn't know. And
Yeah.
I couldn't have known that it was going to be hard. And some people breastfeed, have no issues at all, which was my first experience. I mean, it was hard, but it was like all the standard things. So why would I have put in the effort before it was a problem? Like, it didn't make sense. But I was very like, oh, I wish I did it before. But then I got over that, and I was like, but I'm still here, and I made all this progress, and I'm still nursing my babies and giving them almost exclusively breast milk at 6 months of age.
Which is amazing. For twins especially, it it's harder, as you know. So it's amazing that and I love that you're not afraid of like 2 ounces of formula. Like, I don't care how you decide to feed your baby, but the fact that
Yeah,
you can balance this and know, I think it's kind of a sense of control when you know, "Hey, I can control my milk supply. Like, I know how to manage that and that I'm gonna have enough." Gives you a lot of room and peace in your life to be able to make choices like that, because
for
you
sure.
know that getting in 2 ounces of formula is not gonna affect your milk supply because you know how to manage it, but it is gonna save you a lot of sanity for the whole day. And so
Yeah,
the fact you can kinda put those together, I think, is huge, and that's a big that's a big part of what we teach inside of our curriculum, is how to be your own detective. So you've mentioned a couple times, like, not really feeling the need to reach out sometimes because you feel like you have the tools to kind of troubleshoot and figure it out on your own. And that is exactly, it like makes me so happy, you know?
Yeah, I think it's true. Yeah, because I remember you saying that many, many times during the education, and sometimes I'm like, okay, I hope I can do this by myself, or and I was like, no, I can, and I've been doing it. I mean, I've probably reached out in the forum a few times, and
Yeah.
I would like to go on the calls more because I like them, but I just haven't had time, and now I'm back at work, but I have been able to figure it out on my own. So every time I've done that, I'm like, well, that was worth it. Like
Yeah.
it, it's wild. I mean, I
It's really
remember you say
empowering.
it
And
so
I
much
think,
on the video.
I know. I think there's a lot of like empowerment that comes with like, I can do this. And I think that's what's missing sometimes. You know, sometimes people, when they're deciding whether or not they want to come work with us, they're like, well, I'll go see a lactation consultant. And first of all, like, we're not really, it's not like the same thing. Like, you should go see a lactation consultant. You should have both of these things. Um, but there's something missing about going to a consult and someone tells you what to do, and then you go back home and then it like works or doesn't work. And you're like, what in the world? I think it's better to understand your body and understand what works so that you can like what you're doing is troubleshooting on your own, and just making it work and feeling like I can do this. I also have an expert to ask anytime I need to.
Right.
There's something, it's your journey and your motherhood. I want you to be in control. So I'm glad you're kind of feeling that as well.
Yeah, I really am too because I've thought of that too. I was like, I like to be in control of what I'm doing. I like to have the tools to kind of figure it out. And it is like very precise to every person. It's like what's going on up here, what's going on in here, what's going on all around you, and trying to find that balance. And I did use lactation consultants too, and they were good for what they did as well. Like, I mean,
Yeah.
but they don't know anything about pumping. I haven't found any that understand it almost at all compared to what I've learned here. I feel like I know more than them now about pumping. Like they really don't understand. And also, I would say maybe they know enough for some singleton moms if they have like a good milk, what's the word? The what's your milk reserve or how much milk you can actually make? What's that
Like
bar?
your storage capacity.
Yeah, the storage capacity. That's what I was trying to think of. But I must have like a more than average storage capacity. So whatever they told me about pumping the first time worked enough to have enough milk for my son.
Yeah.
But this time, like if I did that, I definitely would have been done nursing by Thanksgiving. And I made it through Christmas, New Year's, and now we're moving into summer months. And they just don't know enough at all. Like, and it's a really, really good, I'm not going to name who they are, but a really, really reputable, great lactation consulting company in Boston, and they're amazing, and they help me with other things and like my emotional journey, other like am I latching, maybe a weighted feed or things like that, but like the pumping piece was not there at all. Like I was like, they need to take this course. Like
Yeah.
I don't know how they know so little because even in Massachusetts we get a decent amount of time off, like 20 weeks, which is more than other places, but it's still not enough time to really, really establish your milk, get into a standard place. So mothers are going back to work between 12 and 20 weeks usually still.
Yeah.
And if you don't know how to pump, like how are you supposed to maintain breastfeeding them when you're with your baby and going to work and providing milk? Like it's kind of wild to me how little it seems they know about pumping. Like
Yeah.
I was,
Well, they
so
get
I
no training. Like I'm an IBCLC and I got zero. It was all feeding at the breast because that's just what the focus is,
yeah.
there. And we actually have some training courses for professionals that we train them to because there's just such a lack of training. They just don't know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hear that quite a
I
bit.
mean, it's
I'm really,
all,
yeah, go ahead.
no, sorry.
I'm actually really curious to hear what your back to work experience has been like. I think you've been back to work 2 weeks now, but you work in an OR. Like, can you talk
Yeah.
to me about like what that transition was like for you?
Yeah. I was like, okay. So at home, I was like, okay, I hope I'm making enough milk when I go back to work. Cause I tried to do what you guys said, like do like a half day pumping, but I kind of did, but it just didn't work with, everything in my schedule. It was hard to like get away for a half day and try pumping, but I did some sessions or amount of time, but I hadn't done a whole, basically 12 hours. Cause wake up at 5, start pumping, and I didn't get home till about 5 or 5:30. And I guess I was thinking back on things before going to work. So I was like, always pump earlier than later if depending on how my breaks are, because they're not, I mean, you can ask for a certain time frame, but anything can happen and it's just not predictable always. So fine. Pump earlier, pump more often, and even if it's for a short period of time. So I took those things to work. And also I made sure that I set expectations with whoever was giving me a break, that how much time I would need. Um, and there's a lot of resources where I work, so I know I don't have to feel guilty. Someone else can come and relieve, and that's what did happen when I had a longer break. But I was like, I'm not going to improperly express milk so that someone else is available to come help for that extra 10 minutes that I may need. And then I said, also, it's my right, which we learned about. It's my right to be able to express milk to feed my baby for as long as I'm nursing. I'm aware of that. I believe in that. I've supported other people at work to do that. So I
Yeah.
was like, well, I'm going to do that too. And it's temporary. So I had all those things in my head, but I was still a little bit nervous. I was like going in, like, I'm ready. This is my right. I'm going to keep working. But um, everybody was mostly pretty much, I felt supported. I felt like just clearly communicating with people worked. I have actually, I asked about the environment that I was pumping in, which is good, but I was asking about some of the equipment that they have for us. And we have actually a mothers association in my department, and they're looking into getting maybe another pump because I wanted to try the pump that was at work, and
Yeah.
another mother was using it. So I was like, it's not dependable. Like I can't use that. So I have my own pump as well, bringing it to work, but it's actually been pretty good. I feel like the day that I made the most milk, the way my day worked was I was like, well, I have these little breaks. So I would pump literally for 7 minutes sometimes, but it only had been an hour and a half or 2 hours since my last pump. But I was like, it's better to go now because I don't know what the rest of my day is going to look like. And I brought home basically a little bit more than what the girls kind of ate during the day. And then some days it didn't work like that. It was busier the way the scheduled cases were. I got my, 3 breaks during the day, and I made a little less, maybe 4 ounces less than what they needed that day. And I was like, you know what? That's okay. I have stuff in the freezer, but it's hard to not fixate on those things.
Yeah.
But then I keep going back to what my goals were when I first started working with you guys and what I wanted from breastfeeding my girls. And I was like, I want to have just enough or a little bit more. And I was like, I have pretty much just enough and I have a little bit more in the freezer. It's like I don't have it today because of the way the pumping went. Maybe my stress levels were high. Maybe I was a little dehydrated because, but I'm like, then the next week I brought some hydration packs. I tried to drink water in between a little bit more. And I always have snacks at work, so I'm not, low on calories when I'm trying to eat and pump and do all those things during my break. But I felt like I had the knowledge and I don't know, the empowerment, I guess, from going through what I've been through and the support I got from you guys to know how to work through it. And then, every day going to work, I would love to just pump as much as the girls need, but I know it's not going to happen every day. But I also know that that's okay. And I've also worked on my mental stuff to know that a little bit of formula is okay too, for me to feel rested and feel human too, because if I'm sad or feeling overwhelmed, the girls aren't gonna, they may get a little more milk because I'm putting myself through so much to get them that milk, but maybe they're not getting enough interaction and smiles from their mother. So I'm trying to balance all that. And my son too. I mean,
Yeah.
if I look tired and I'm not present because I'm too tired, I mean, 2 to 4 ounces of milk per week is definitely worth my happiness and their happiness. Like I think I'm providing more for my family that way. So I'm always trying to kind of recalculate what is the milk versus the whole thing, and it's working so far. Like yeah, I sometimes I'm shocked because I think back to where I was and how I'm feeling today and how I'm doing, like with the actual production and balance of everything, and we're doing well. Like it's And I know in like 6 more months, I'm going to be like, well, Vanessa, you were okay then, but you're doing much better now.
I
So,
know. Yeah. You really are doing amazing. And I think, honestly, I think your story and just the thoughts that you shared will resonate with so many mothers because the piece that I think we miss sometimes is enjoying this experience. You know, you only get one shot at the postpartum journey with your kiddo. And I mean, if you have another kiddo, it's different and it's their journey. And so if you like I've said this before, probably in the curriculum and on YouTube videos, but you don't get a gold star for dragging your tired, broken body across the finish line. And you're
yeah,
right, like 2 to 4 ounces is not worth sacrificing your happiness and time with your baby every day. And those kind of things add up. But you also have a lot of control in this experience. And I think it kind of allows you to relax a little bit and say, like,
mhm,
it's okay if this didn't work today. It was crazy. I know what to do tomorrow. And I know how to adjust and I'm going to enjoy my kiddo because it's like one of those things you can tell yourself like enjoy the experience. It's not all about milk. But it seems like you really believe that like in your core. And
yeah.
that's a big difference from a lot
Yeah.
of women who are struggling.
I do think it takes a lot of practice, and it's like you have to keep rationally telling yourself that, and then you start to believe it because you start to see that it works. Like, I have given my girls formula and they're very healthy. Like, I was like, and also when I've taken that extra time to sleep rather than getting that extra ounce, like just trying to squeeze out that extra ounce. And I'm like, the next day, sometimes I'll make more milk. Like, I noticed that last night, I didn't kind of go crazy on making, getting the extra milk that I need for the next night feed. And I was like, I'm just going to go to sleep. And then last night when I pumped, I got a little more than what I want because I like try to get 7 ounces at my night pump for the next day in the evening because it's just too wild at dinner time and everything. So I give them the
Yeah.
bottle and I got like 7.5 or whatever. And it's like, well, now I have half an extra ounce. And the day before I had 1.5 less, but I also got an extra hour of sleep, which is massive. And
Yeah. Totally
it's,
worth it.
and yeah. And if you're tired, it's so hard because you hear all these things to balance, like give yourself good food, give yourself sleep, give yourself hydration. Don't stress too much, but make milk, but make sure to pump every 2 to 4 hours or whatever, 2 to 3 hours or whatever it is, depending on where you're at. And it's like, but to truly find that balance and what it means to you is difficult. But I do feel like the beginning, I was more strict about really you got to extract milk because it's more important when you're first starting.
Yeah.
But then you understand it. Your body also understands it, and then you can kind of give yourself more leeway. Plus, your brain has to catch up with, or your heart has to catch up with your brain, I guess.
Yeah.
Like even though I said all those things at the beginning, I didn't feel them, and I even went to you guys like, I think I know I can stop pumping in the morning, but it didn't. I wasn't like allowing myself, and you're like, if you need me to tell you that you're allowed, you are allowed, and I was like, yeah, you're right. And then you're like, plus you know what to do. You can go back to what was working for you if this doesn't work. And I was like, okay. So then I've been doing that since we talked probably about a month ago. And some days I'll pump in the morning if the morning is not so crazy and I have the bandwidth and I feel like I need that extra like ounce or two. And most days I don't. And it works. So um, a lot of it is just trial and error.
Yeah. But always knowing what to come back to that works, I think is the key there. If you don't already know what works for you or the things that are most important, making changes like that are more
Oh,
chaotic, you know?
for
I remember
yeah.
talking with you being like, what have you done in the past? What works for you? And you had a pretty solid understanding of your own body and your milk supply and things like that. So it was easy for us to say, give it a
Yeah.
try. But for someone who's still trying, like throwing spaghetti at the wall and
Oh
trying
no.
random things and getting random results, when you do stuff like that, you get more random results. And it just feels chaotic. So I don't know.
Agreed.
And it's just hard to get out of your own head sometimes, you know, where you're like in it and focused. So I think having someone to kind of just like talk to and brainstorm with and be like, am I crazy? Or does this make sense every once in a while? Can just keep you sane. And then you can make a decision and move on with your life, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And it was nice to hear like you know what to do. So if this doesn't work, you know what to go back to or you have an understanding of this. And that really did help. And I was like, okay, so I'll try it. And I was a little worried to try it, to be honest. Like it felt
Oh, for sure.
unnatural, or like not unnatural, but I was apprehensive, I guess. And then it's been working, and my mornings are much better. Sometimes I still try to put that pump in if I need it or I feel like I need it. But I was like, do you need it? You still have barely taken anything out of the freezer. So
Yeah.
it's a lot of it is a mental game, and you guys talk about that a lot too. Um, it's hard because you have to be really diligent and dedicated, but then you also have to give yourself grace and like relax and let yourself have other things too. Um, it's not easy, but you're right. You don't get another try. It's not like I get to go back 6 months ago, and if I would have done it like this, would it have been different? Would it have been better? And I don't know. Maybe it would have been better in terms of milk, but it could have been worse in terms of many other things. Like you don't get two chances at anything in life, really. Um, so I'm very grateful for how my life is right now, and I do feel like Chris said it. My husband, he was like, this is why you're successful, and I was like, I know it is. This program has been so worth it, and I was apprehensive to sign on because I was like, but then I was like, you know what, if it's this is bad, but I was like, if it's fake, it's fake. Oh well. I really want to try something, but I was like, it seems so real, it's so good, so I was like, I'm gonna do it. And then it's been like the best. But you don't have to put that in, but I remember thinking that, like, I was just like,
No, it's hard. The online space is crazy and
and
like,
it's so not the same as what, not many people have done this program, in the sense of like online programs are becoming more and more common. I did a sleep consultant thing, kind of the way yours is
oh yeah.
kind of, and it was really, really good for the girls. I told you a couple
Hmm.
months, a month ago, I started the sleep training with the girls. But you know, it's it's a new era. This stuff works really well. So
I know. And we've tried to build it really intentionally for busy working moms. So like we do have a group call every week, but you said that it's, you're hit and miss there, which is totally fine because we also have a forum where you can ask questions every day and then a curriculum you can search anytime. Like we're just trying to give as many resources to you busy working moms as we can so that you can
yeah,
just find what you need in the moment because life shifts and adjusts so much and it's going to continue to shift and adjust for you.
yeah,
You have done so well. I hope you're so proud of yourself. And, I think what you said too is like, I should have done it earlier. And we hear that a lot. But sometimes going through the struggle makes you appreciate and where you're at now. If you join in pregnancy and things had been smooth, it might be like, I don't know, did I need it or could I have done it?
yeah,
Sometimes feeling the pain is part of the experience. And
yeah.
so,
Yeah, it's a
yeah.
human experience. Like if everything's the same all the time, we don't like that feeling. We don't like feeling low, but sometimes that struggle, and also you build stronger connections sometimes in those struggling times,
Yeah.
whether it's with someone who supported you, or like certain moms in the forum, or my
Mhm.
partner. And then you look back, and I mean, that delta is so much higher. You get so much more out of that. If everything's kind of the same all the time, you have nothing to really, it's not human. I mean, that's like a computer. So yeah, I don't regret it. I wish it was earlier at times, but I don't feel like that anymore. I feel like I probably found it at the right time, because what if I found it a few weeks later? Maybe it wouldn't have been good, maybe it would have still worked, I don't know. But for me, when I found it and where I was mentally and emotionally, it was like the right time. Because yeah, I mean, I don't know though, but I don't regret it, and I feel very, very grateful for it. I feel I wouldn't be feeling like this right now. Like I love nursing my girls, and I love that I can, and I just feel like, as long as I'm in disbelief that it actually worked, to be honest, like from
Mhm.
where I was feeling and how I thought things were gonna go. And now I'm going back to work and it's going fine. Like I feel like I'm shocked. Like I don't know, a little bit speechless, and I talk a lot. So I feel, yeah, very grateful for it.
Beautiful. Well, you've done so well, and thanks for sharing your story with us today. As we kind of wrap up, is there anything you would tell other working moms? Any advice maybe you'd give your old self, or just like any last words of wisdom for busy working moms
Well,
that
I
you wish you
think
would have heard?
moms often seem to want to do everything for everybody else, and if continuing to give breast milk to your baby is important to you, not just doing it only for your babies, but like the part that is for yourself as a mother, then I think it's really worth it. Like if you can also say it's for my babies, it's for this, it's for that, but it's like if it's for you, like invest in yourself. You do so much. Like, and you do see more benefits in the entirety, and you'll see it in your family too. Like my husband's happier because I'm happier. My babies are happier because I feel fulfilled, and not because they're just getting breast milk, because babies with other forms of feeding are definitely healthy and happy too, but it's because I feel happy from doing it. And I do think, mothers especially are not really taught to take care of themselves. And I know it sounds so like phony, like take care of yourself so you can take care of everybody else, but we should invest in ourselves, and giving ourselves like that little bit of time to learn or feel empowered by our decisions. And it's because it's what we really want, not because what somebody else thinks how we should feed our babies. Then I think it's so worth it. And if you're watching like this or looking at these videos or trying to learn, it's probably because you do feel like that. So that's kind of how I made the jump. I was like, oh, and I was like, you know what, I work, I am successful, and I want to try this. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but I really think it will. And you also have to believe in yourself too. But I think, yeah, just doing it for yourself. And if that's what is important to you, it's definitely worth it.
Yeah, it's more than milk. I feel like is like kind
Yeah.
of what you're saying. Like milk matters, obviously, especially if it's important to you, but it's more than that. And
Yeah.
finding control and peace in this journey and being a happy mom through this and making decisions because you want to, not because things are not working. Like that's the gift you can give yourself. So I love
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. And I feel like it was a huge gift for me. And it's been, it's like a gift that I feel like I'm going to look back on this memory. And also when my twins are small, like not so, I think it would have been a little more sad for me, particularly.
Yeah.
Like if I didn't make that leap. And also just not knowing, you're like, well, doing this program, I think a lot of people are successful that take it seriously. Um, Looking back on it, I'm like, I'm proud of myself, and I feel like empowered, and I would support any other mother to take this. I mean, I know other working moms, but I don't know, you know, it's a personal decision too, but I would definitely recommend anyone to take it that's struggling, or that has plans and knows that certain things are going to be tough, so that it can be easier. You don't have to be as, you know, struggling as much as I was to take this course. I think you could take it preemptively or to plan so that your life can be smoother. Um, but if you're like me, then definitely. But
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us today. Your story is beautiful. And honestly, you've done so well and really taken the core pieces that I was hoping out of this program and put it in your life. So if you want some help too, anyone that's watching, listening, again, you can apply to join our program. There's an application, and then you can schedule a call with my team. We don't take everyone that applies, but we can kind of walk you through it. It's an investment into coaching like this. So we can walk you through it before making decisions. That's newlittlelife.com/apply. So thanks again, Vanessa, for your time today. Really appreciate you.
thank
Talk
you.
to you. Bye.